Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of AAA Presents High Roads with Dan Davis. I hope you're enjoying your weekend, and I can tell you we are having a terrific day here in Prescott Valley. And look at this sculpture garden. Is it not beautiful? But believe it or not, we're not at a museum, and we are not at a traditional art gallery. This is actually a foundry where the artists go to have their work cast in bronze to create these beautiful sculptures. It's a long ways from an artist idea to one of these beautiful bronze sculptures. At the BronzeSmith in Prescott Valley, owner Ed Riley and his crew are the ones who make a sculpturous work and dreams come true.
That's the stone original sculpture. On this side, we've applied rubber and then fiberglass.
It's quite the process, and a little bit later we'll show you the complicated steps that go into making a bronze sculpture. But we have to jump ahead to the front of the line because the boys out back have heated the bronze to 2,000 degrees and it's ready to be poured like water.
This is the same way that they've melted metal for centuries.
So that's not the piece of art, that's just holding the melted bronze, basically?
Yeah, that's just got the molten bronze inside of it. The crucible's made out of silicon carbide, a casting of silicon carbide, and it can withstand the temperatures necessary to melt the bronze. And the ceramic shells that we're going to pour are inside of there. Now they're going to take and remove those shells from the kiln and place them in our pouring area.
How long does it take to melt bronze?
Oh, I think it's a little over 2 hours to melt the 450 pounds. We use natural gas to melt with. It takes maybe about 2 hours for it to completely cool, even on a summer day, to where we can start working with it. When the temperature of the bronze hits the oxygen in the air, it can cause a small amount of carbon. So we're skimming the top off, and it's not necessarily impurities, but just solidified metal. Well, this is your Kodak moment. This is when it gets really exciting. Okay, so they're going to walk over now, and you're going to get to see the molten bronze go into the ceramic shells. Bear in mind that metal's at 2,150 degrees. When the metal fills to the top, it squirts out the risers, and that's how we know to stop pouring or it's finished.
How much time do you have to pour that before it's cooled too much?
We think that the bronze cools about 100 degrees every 5 minutes. So typically we'll pour the 450 pounds in about 6.5 minutes.
That is amazing. That's metal pouring like water. The whole process is amazing, and just a little bit later we'll take you through the detailed process of pouring the perfect piece of bronze. The work at the BronzeSmith in Prescott Valley is all about making a good impression. Well, make that a perfect impression. Sounds easy enough until you realize just exactly what it takes, especially in this project for a church in Cottonwood.
Well, what we're doing is working on a project here where we've taken the old Stations of the Cross from the Catholic Church in Jerome and enlarged them twice the size for the new church in Cottonwood. These Stations of the Cross are over 120 years old, and Andrea is doing an interpretation of the old Station of the Cross in clay. So each one of these pieces was digitally enlarged, but it still has to have the human touch or the sculptor's rendition of how to make it look good in that size.
All bronzes begin with an artist original, which in this case was chiseled out of stone. And that first impression is made using a rubber mold. This is the artist's work?
That's the stone original sculpture. On this side, we've applied rubber and then fiberglass. And when that's done, we'll take this clay wall off and put rubber and fiberglass on this side. Then we open the mold up on both sides. We give the stone original sculpture back to the artist, and that's what we use. That 2/2 of the rubber mold is what we use to make our wax patterns. Now that the rubber mold has been finished, Kristen is applying hot wax to the surface to pick up all the detail of the original sculpture. We'll build it up to about a thickness of 3/16 of an inch. So maybe we have to coat that 3 or 4 times. We'll then take a heat gun and warm it up slightly to get all the little bubbles and details to come out. So this is the Boy Scout sculpture we're working on for the town of Prescott, commemorating the 100-year anniversary of Scouting. And it's pretty exciting how to see how this comes out of the rubber mold.
Now, do you reuse that rubber?
Yeah, this can be used over 100 times or more.
A little physical work here, huh?
Yeah, we've got to tug on it a little bit. Okay, let's stand it up. And here you get to see how the rubber peels off of the face of one of the Boy Scouts. After the wax pattern comes out of the rubber mold, we need to touch up the seam line where the two halves came together. The next stage in the process is what's called gating, and that's what's going to be put inside of a ceramic shell investment, and that's what we'll pour the bronze into.
Well, wait, there's more. Yet another process that might give you that sinking feeling, but in the end makes the final molten pour possible. This final step is called the ceramic shell process.
Ceramic shell was invented in the 50s for the aerospace industry, and it wasn't until late 70s and most art foundries had discovered it as being the ideal material to cast bronze sculptures in.
And with that perfect impression on the inside, the molten bronze can finally be poured. Of course, some artists may want to add a chemical patina to their work, or a bull's horn may need a little touch-up, but it is certainly all worth it when that melted metal becomes a solid piece of art. Well, thanks for having us up here, Ed. We really, really enjoyed this.
You're welcome, Dan. We're open to the public. We do tours on Thursday mornings at 11 o'clock. We'd like to see people come up and see some of the interesting things that we're working on at BronzeSmith.